People used to treat me like I was nothing. But today I stared down a cockpit full of chaos with a quiet confidence that felt like a long, buried flame igniting once more. Andrea Taylor, a once celebrated pilot cast into the shadows of a janitor's existence, now stood at the helm of a crumbling flight, the stench of smoke mixing with the bitter tang of memories. Back then I earned awards, soared through the skies, but that was before Brent Wallace, the man whose whispered lies had grounded my dreams, reappeared in my life. With both pilots incapacitated, panic erupted around me. This was not just a flight, it was my reckoning. In this confined space, the passengers' disbelief mirrored my own. They had no idea the janitor sweeping floors at Seabrook National Airport was the same woman who had once mastered air traffic, whose hands had once gripped the controls with authority. Brent's mockery still echoed in my ears as I navigated through the fray, throwing aside my doubts and reclaiming my identity, if only for a moment. As turbulence rocked the plane and alarms blared, I stepped into the cockpit, surrendering to instinct. Communication with air traffic control poured out of me like second nature, even behind the flicker of malfunctioning instruments. I was not only fighting for the lives of the passengers, I was fighting to reclaim the woman I had lost. With every nerve-altering moment, I felt the shackles of my past ripping away, and amidst the smoke and despair, I began to rediscover who I truly was. "Get out of my way, janitor." Brent Wallace sneered, arms crossed as the cabin erupted into chaos. Passengers were screaming, fear painted across their faces. The alarms whirred, metallic and harsh, while smoke snaked through the cockpit. Foreclosure felt the familiar churn in her gut. Once she had commanded a jet with confidence, the pride of the Air Force Academy, now she held a mop. "I can help," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. "Help?" Brent barked, chuckling darkly. "From you? You're just here to clean up someone else's mess." The disdain in his voice twisted like a knife, a reminder of the career-ending scandal he had orchestrated, falsely accusing her of negligence during a training exercise. The flight was on course to disaster, and here he was, basking in the power of humiliation. "Those degrees mean nothing now. You'll always be just a janitor." His words hit like icy rain, drowning any flicker of resolve. But as he turned to bark orders at others, something ignited inside her. The fiery pilot she used to be swelled against the despair. "Step aside, Brent," she commanded, brushing past him. He stumbled back, eyes wide, incredulous. The lead flight attendant shot her a doubting glance. "You can't take over," she protested. Andrea held her breath, locking eyes with them. "I'm the only one here who can." Memories flooded her mind. The roar of engines, the control yoke warm in her grip. "Trust me, or we're all dead." The panic around them swirled, but determination crystallized in her heart. Silence gripped the cockpit as Brent's expression morphed from mockery to realization. For the first time, she saw fear flicker in his eyes. "You can't be serious." Andrea let that silence hang between them, a sharp, cold truth. "I'm dead serious." Blackmail shuddered violently, lights flickering in ominous rhythm, with the warning alarms blaring through the cabin. Passengers, faces contorted in fear, gripped their armrests, the atmosphere thick with suffocating panic. Andrea Taylor stood frozen for a heartbeat, her mind racing back to the chaos that had ripped through her life, leaving her scrubbing floors instead of soaring the skies. The memory of the Air Force Academy, the thrill of takeoff, the power of command, clashed with her reality as a janitor at Seabrook National Airport. The cockpit door swung shut behind her, Brent Wallace's derisive laughter echoing ominously around her. A janitor? Really? An insult she had swallowed too many times, but today it felt like the last straw. His disdain swirling around her, a familiar cloak she was tired of wearing. She had once commanded planes. The memory surged within her, igniting a fire she thought had long extinguished. As turbulence struck, the cabin erupted in screams, the pilots incapacitated, leaving the aircraft teetering on the edge of disaster. Andrea fought down her hesitation, pushing through the flurry of panic. "I can do this," she whispered, each word a step toward reclaiming her identity. The lead flight attendant eyed her warily, voice trembling. "You can't just take over." unwilling. Watch me. Every ounce of fear transformed into a quiet strength, a resolute determination fueling her as she stepped into the cockpit. She could feel her heart pounding, memories intertwining with purpose. Snatching the controls, Andrea found that her hands remembered the dance of navigation. It flowed back, coursing through her veins like adrenaline. The chatter from air traffic control became her lifeline, and as she tuned into it, she felt the familiar reassurance of being in charge. Today, she would not just survive, she would soar again. Andrea inhaled deeply, gripping the yoke of the aircraft as sirens blared around her. Smoke curled in from the back of the cabin, but she focused on the instruments in front of her, recognizing the familiar readings despite the chaos. Her heart raced, and it wasn't just fear. This was exhilaration, a resurgence of the woman who had once commanded fighter jets. Mayday, Mayday, this is Flight 736. I am the acting pilot. Requesting immediate guidance, she spoke into the radio, her voice steady despite the tempest swirling in her mind. Behind her, Brent's laughter echoed, a bitter reminder of her fall from grace. You, a janitor? This is a joke, he had taunted, leaning against the cockpit door. But now that mockery only fueled her resolve. I may clean the floors, but I can still fly this plane, she murmured to herself, a quiet reassurance that solidified her spirit. The flight attendant, eyes wide with fear, stepped forward, her authority wavering. Ma'am, we need... Nasday, her gaze hardening. You need me. We're losing altitude. The attendant faltered, the passengers watching anxiously. Small victories surged within her. The passengers needed hope, and in that moment she offered them something far more powerful: confidence. Trust for me, she said this time, softer yet insistent. I've got this. Asserlan, as she adjusted the throttle, her fingers remembered the movements of years past, blending instinct with knowledge. She smiled, recalling the pride of her past. She was reclaiming her life, one steady heartbeat at a time. Andrea stood in the cockpit, heart racing, the weight of her past colliding with her present. The planes shuddered violently, passengers shrieking beyond the door, but all she felt was an eerie calm. They had mocked her, underestimated her, as she scrubbed floors. Yet here she was, the fate of everyone resting in her hands. A final glance at the smirking face of Brent Wallace, the man who had orchestrated her disgrace, still burned in her mind. As she maneuvered the controls with a deftness forgotten but not lost, the memories flooded back. Her days of soaring through the skies, the exhilaration of command. She secured her footing, hands steady despite the turbulence, vocalizing her plan with clear authority to the crew. The shocked expression on the flight attendant's face said it all. Disbelief mixed with the dawning realization that she wasn't just a janitor anymore, she was their lifeline. The descent was treacherous, alarms screamed as smoke filled the cabin. Each dive intensified the chaos, but not for Andrea. In those harrowing moments, she felt her spirit ignite. With Brent's image looming, she performed like a seasoned pilot, communicating with air traffic control, her every command assertive and precise. As the wheels touched the tarmac, the rough landing was a symphony of screeching metal and shock. Among the dazed faces of passengers, she saw a mix of terror and awe. They had cheered for her, adrenaline coursing through their veins, and she felt a seed of vindication take root within her. Disproportionately, the aftermath, the media swirled. But this time, it wasn't about her fall. It was about Brent's unraveling. He stammered through live interviews. Mockery turned to despair as evidence surfaced of his manipulations. Horizon Airlines clutched at straws, his reputation collapsing like a house of cards. Andrea watched it unfold from the sidelines, the silent triumph building within her. When the board gathered to discuss the inquiry, she strode in head held high. No longer invisible. I'm here to reclaim what's rightfully mine, she declared, a hard-earned smile breaking across her face. The members exchanged nervous glances, the room buzzing with whispers of her past heroics. As she received her reinstatement, along with the promise to reform the aviation policies, Andrea turned to see Zoe, her one ally who had believed in her. They shared a moment, a silent vow amidst the overwhelming glory of her return. The tangled web of her past had finally unraveled, leaving the path clear for her future. As the plane settled onto the tarmac, heart still racing from the whirlwind of events, I glanced around at the faces of those who had shared this harrowing journey with me. Fear had given way to disbelief, and relief mingled with awe. I had not only conquered my past, but had also reclaimed my identity, shedding the shadows of a life spent in obscurity. Brent's mocking laughter echoed in my mind, a reminder of the walls I'd managed to break down. Moments like these had taught me resilience. I was no longer just a janitor at Seabrook National Airport. I had emerged from chaos, rekindled by the desperate need to prove my worth and my capabilities. Those turbulent moments had revived the girl who once soared through the skies fearlessly, and the wisdom gained had grounded me even further. Now I wonder, have you ever found yourself underestimated or overlooked? When faced with obstacles, what choices shaped your journey? Join the conversation, share your experiences and insights on power, justice, and the complexities of identity. Your voice can inspire others.